I want to see the federal government step up. This is their job. Texas shouldn't have to go through this. Texas shouldn't have to step up and having to do this. This is really our responsibility. But Biden doesn't care to see 53 immigrants lose their life. This is on him. 53 immigrants died a few days ago. I know they don't want to talk about it, but this is on them because they continue to encourage people to come here illegally. I want people to come here the way I came, and I know that it's a lot more difficult to come here legally, and that is why I focus on the legal process. How can we improve the process so more little girls like Myra can come here to the United States and have a good experience? Why should a little girl have to go through so much abuse, go through hell for the American dream? I want little girls like Myra to be able to come here to the United States where it's safer, secure, and they don't have to go through so much abuse. But Democrats are obsessed with illegal immigration, knowing all the trauma that they're going to have to go through, because for them, it's all about political power. For me, it's not. It's about human lives. Behind these policies are human lives being affected, and they don't care. They care about the party. I don't care about the party. I care about people. And that's the difference between me and the Democrat Party and us. We actually care about human lives, and I actually care about the people.
Insider information and El Narco Tráfico, Uvalde report is released, and Democrats have a daunting task ahead. It is Monday, July 18th, 7:04 a.m. My name is Frank Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Now, we have a lot to be proud of in our great city, and mainly for the great representation that we've been having throughout this summer and throughout this past weekend. We want to send a special congratulations to the True Lady Ballers. They did travel this past weekend to Orlando, Florida. They played in the championship game, and even though it was a difficult loss, it was a great experience for these young ladies. They ended up placing second in the tournament. And as you can just imagine, the excitement and thrill that not only the players enjoyed, but also their families in attendance. Special shouts out goes to Alexis Olalde, who did contribute in her team's success. And much praise goes out not only to the players involved, but also the families. It's very expensive, very taxing to take part in these tournaments. But it's great to see how families are doing everything possible to make sure that their loved ones are able to share this experience with them. Again, it is great for these young ladies to travel, see what's out there, to try and measure themselves against greater competition. And of course, we expect once they play here within their respective schools, the competition won't be as great, and they'll be able to excel in their respective sports. But nonetheless, special shouts out goes to the True Lady Ballers, placing second place in Orlando, Florida this past weekend. With a special shouts out goes to Alexis Olalde for her contributions to the team. Also, not only were we represented in Orlando, we were also represented in Kansas, in Wichita, Kansas. This past weekend, they had the Junior Olympics for boxing, and we're proud to say that we had two individuals that represented the city of Brownsville. Drago Rubalcaba received the bronze medal, and Neima Garcia, the young lady, did bring back gold. And what can we say about these young individuals? We have been following Coach Rudy Juarez and the great. Good morning, and the great school that he has been creating for these past 5 years. RGV Elite has pretty much put in Brownsville on the map. Not only do we have the likes of Johnny Blaze Tapia, the Juarez boys, the Relámpago and Trueno, but we also have the likes of the Figueroas coming up, the Rubalcabas, Ms. Garcia. There are great things happening in Brownsville in regards to our youth sports. Not only are we being represented in soccer for all our state titles, not only are we being represented by our True Lady Ballers in basketball, but also Brownsville is on the map and here to stay. And it's impressive to see how Coach Rudy has done a phenomenal job with these young athletes. He is developing them and creating champions amongst them. So it's a great honor to have these individuals reside in the city of Brownsville, a great representation. And once again, this only motivates them for bigger and better things. So special congratulations goes out to Rubalcaba Drago, Miss Garcia, the Figueroas, the Juarezes, and RGV Elite Boxing. It really is great to see how an individual has been getting students, pupils, and working with them and developing their crafts, and for them to accomplish something on this stage to bring bronze and gold is a great accomplishment. So once again, special shouts out goes to Rubalcaba and Ms. Garcia for competing and putting Brownsville on the map. Also, another individual that we're very excited about, we think the world of, is Mr. Alex Mancias. He will be traveling to Vegas, Tennessee, where he will be competing, and ultimately he will be moving, from what I understand, moving to Tennessee to pursue his dreams. And we've been following Alex for the longest time now, and everything that we've heard and seen from him, he's the real deal. He learned through the ranks and he was taught by great champions, Mr. Pete Ramirez and his mother Eva. We wish Mr. Alex nothing but success. We have heard that he does plan to hopefully tap into acting, into Hollywood one day, and this could be his next step. So, Mr. Alex, we think the world of you. You are a true champion, a world champion. We wish you much success. We hope and we know that you will do everything possible to make sure that your community, that your city is well represented. We're excited to see these new opportunities that you will face. But just like everything you've done before, this will be a task that you will accomplish. So special shouts out goes to Miss Eva Ramirez, Karate, for developing a champion, a world champion nonetheless, who will bring a great representation to the city of Brownsville wherever he goes. Now, the war on drugs, it all started back in the mid 1980s. This was after a DEA agent was killed. He was working undercover, trying to tap into the Guadalajara cartel and its network. And what we have seen since the mid 80s has been how the United States, ever since that death, has been doing everything possible to make sure that they tackle this war on drugs. This past weekend, Rafael Caro Quintero, who is to blame and who did serve over 25 plus years out of a 40-year sentence for the death of DEA agent Kiki Camarena. We were shocked to learn that not shocked, it is Mexico, but the Mexico judicial system released Rafael Caro Quintero after 20 plus years in a Mexican prison. And the excuse was that it was a technicality error, that the judge gave him credit for a crime that he committed already, but in actuality, it was just a ticket out of jail. And what we have seen since Caro Quintero was released in 2013 was that the U.S. was hell-bound on making sure that Caro Quintero was captured, and they did want to bring him to justice in the United States. And once again, because of the death of Kiki Camarena in the mid 1980s, this is what garnered all the attention. It put narco trafficking on the map. It signified that the United States was going to do everything possible to combat the war on drugs. What we have seen as of late has not been that. What we have seen has has been that individuals such as Rafael Caro Quintero, El Mayo Zambada, El Chapo Guzman, they have amassed great wealth, and through their networks, they have bribed, have had military officials, government officials, and some even say that, even some presidents are involved in making sure that these syndicates, these cartels, are not bothered. The likes of Vicente Zambada, the son of El Mayo Zambada, he did state that there was an agreement with the United States to allow them to push large amounts of, or tons of drugs, by them giving them information to other on other cartels. And what we have seen has been that the United States has always played this game of chess. Is this war on drugs really working? Have we seen a decrease in the flow of drugs, ammunition, money coming or crossing international lines? We don't see a change, as we have seen many times. Whenever a capo gets arrested, one is always right there in line to take his place. The interesting thing about Rafael Caro Quintero was that he represents the old guard of the Guadalajara cartel, which splintered and fragmented, and which led to the likes of El Chapo Guzman, El Mayo Zambada becoming these giants within the narco world. And we saw how the arrest of Caro Quintero brought something that the United States have been wanting: that trophy, that individual that killed that DEA agent back in the 80s. Now, again, will this stop the war on drugs? Absolutely not. Now, is this a farce? Does the United States allow the flow of guns, of ammunition, of weapons, of drugs, of money? Do they allow this to get bigger fishes? Counterintelligence, so to speak. But what we have seen has been that this arrest of Caro Quintero is what the United States wanted: that trophy, that individual that was responsible for the death of this DEA agent. He will be brought to justice. The United States will be filing a notice of extradition that will make sure that Rafael Caro Quintero spends his last days in the United States prison. It just seems to be getting bad to worse very quickly for Uvalde, and everything that we've been hearing through the media has not been good. Once pictures started being released, the videos started getting released to the public, we started seeing something that we never expected. And finally, we did get a report from the Texas House Committee, which detailed an 80-page report, which detailed the tragic events at the Robb Elementary School on that tragic day. And what we see from this report was that it contradicted many of the testimony that was provided by those law enforcement officials there present. And it's alarming to note that there was over 300, close to 400 law enforcement officials who did respond to this shooting and to this tragic day. And we all saw the video of how individuals were frantically trying to cover and protect themselves while they heard shots being fired. And one thing that is very alarming was that video of that officer who was checking a phone. And many individuals stopped and said, hey, well, the reason why this is, he's checking his phone is because his wife is the one that was there. But again, what we see from these videos that have been released has been one that has not painted these law enforcement officials in good light. We see how many of them were pretty much not wanting to engage with this shooter. Now, again, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but what we can all tell from this video, or from the videos being released, was that there was no what's the initiative? There was no initiative to try and combat and take down this shooter. Again, 400 heavily armed officers did not engage with this one shooter. We hear the police chief, the Uvalde ISD police chief, try and speak with the shooter and say, hey, please give up your guns. We don't want anybody to die. Please stop. And for over an hour, they try and talk. And again, they, they did not know what they were dealing with, but over 400 individuals, heavily armed, and just waiting there in the hallway, never engaged and never took it upon themselves after hearing the cries and multiple shots from this assailant. They did nothing. It is tragic to see how the Uvalde leadership did try and speak with the Texas Department of Public Safety director, who they begged and said, please make sure that you say that you talk about our local law enforcement in good light. Please, this is horrible. And the director says, you know what, I can't do that. Based on the reports, based on the video, and based on people's testimony, there was a systematic failure. Now, the interesting thing is that there are talks. There are talks now of this possibly being a criminal matter. Should those individuals that take an oath to serve and protect their community, here's a clip of the video of the officer saying, no, don't go, back off. And the reasons why they said, I feared for the safety of my officers. Again, are they being cowards? And look, it's difficult to play Monday morning quarterback. They didn't know what they were facing. But it does look bad whenever you hear the screams of children being massacred, and these 400 heavily armed law enforcement officials who took an oath to protect and serve their community froze and did nothing but wait. They waited for an hour. And now, based on this report, we are starting to learn that this could possibly lead into a criminal matter. Is the officer who was held in charge or was in charge of this tragic event, should he face criminal sanctions? Should be held responsible for his neglect, for not taking action, for that lapse in judgment of not making sure that those children, he did everything possible to make sure that those children were safe. That's where it's leading to, according to this report. Criminal charges will be considered in this from this tragic event. What if I told you that I had insider information, you and I were able to make a buck? While that is not ethically and it is morally wrong, and it is a criminal matter for me to disclose any type of information, whether that's that being at the stock market level, working for the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, or maybe here locally. If I serve on a committee, if I serve on a board, if I'm commissioner, if I'm mayor, if I have insider information regarding a certain grant being passed, is it wrong for those individuals to take action and use that insider information that they have that nobody is privy to? Does it happen? Well, it happens more than you think. Nancy Pelosi has been at the helm for 20 plus 30 years, close to 30 years, 28 years. And her annual salary is close to $190,000. And what we have seen from Ms. Pelosi and her family has been the large increase of her net worth, being close to $200 million. And what we have seen from the Pelosi family, her and her husband, have been that they have been very active on the stock market. Nancy Pelosi did buy between $1 to $5 million worth of stock of Tesla. This was right before President Biden did announce that the United States was going to take this initiative on electronic vehicles to try and promote a greener earth. Now, was this a coincidence? Once again, my mom and my family always say, Mijo, there is no such thing as coincidences. Also, her husband purchased over $2 million worth of Apple and Microsoft stock options. Again, did they have some sort of insider information? Perhaps. Now, what does this lead to? Where am I going with this? Is it right for elected officials, those entrusted, those who take an oath to use insider information? What is the reason behind these individuals doing so? Just recently, we have how Nancy Pelosi's former staff member was going to be an SEC commissioner. Now, again, what is the reasons behind this? Well, it's because to make a buck. And here in the city of Brownsville, we we have our own similar insider information. And just recently, her husband disclosed that they did purchase last month $5 million worth of NVIDIA, and this company is a chip manufacturing company. And again, what a coincidence that the government wants to pass a $52 billion bill that will give U.S. chip companies the ability to produce. Again, we are at a loss for chips. Technology, the COVID pandemic kind of disrupted all that chain. Now, is it a coincidence that Nancy Pelosi has gained over $200 million with a salary of $190,000? She has been in office for close to 30 years. But we have seen, and her track record from her and her husband on the New York Stock Exchange has been that they always make it big, that their predictions, whenever they put money down, they always get a big return. Now, is this something that we have been seeing from the city of Brownsville? Here we have the likes of our mayor who, even though this wasn't insider information, this was not information that was privy to other business owners. Do individuals benefit from being on boards, on committees, on commissions for their own benefit? It seems that way. Here we have, individuals that work with city leaders who have the advantage of having this insider information, as opposed to, your regular average Joe's mom and pop restaurants who don't have this same luxury. And again, who can forget the empty lot that got $200,000 for a downtown to revitalize downtown? Now, again, insider information. Is this a good thing? Absolutely not. It is sad to report that these individuals, whenever you bring it up to their attention, they say, "Hey, I did nothing wrong. I did everything by the book." But again, are other individuals, are mom and pops, are they given that same opportunity to be in the runnings for these grants? Insider information. If you look at all these boards, all the planning and zoning, all these different committees, all these Gmbtx, all this, there's sharks. There's a lot of sharks in these committees. If you don't believe me, Google all these committees. I found several, and I was pretty shocked to see who the sharks are. And there's wheelers and dealers, people with money. Now, you would say, why would these individuals want to be in these important committees? Well, because they do get information that nobody is privy to. And they get information and knowing the direction of where businesses are going, where companies are buying land. And they could recommend and they suggest, have we seen this at the county level back when SpaceX back in 2013, 2014, when those rumblings started happening? What did you think happened? A lot of commissioners and commissioners' families. We'll be talking about that a lot more later on this season of Good Morning Brownsville. But we have seen how these individuals, because of insider information, they bought property around close to SpaceX because they knew something was coming. Insider information. Nancy Pelosi, her husband, did purchase $5 million worth of stock in chips. Are we seeing this with the city of Brownsville, where certain individuals have insider information not privy to the public, to the world, and it's only them and their posse? It seems that way. Now, the Democrats, they do have a daunting task. And my friends yesterday said, daunting? What are you talking about? As we all know, Deep South Texas has been predominantly Democrat, has been predominantly blue. And what we have seen as of late has been the Democratic Party at the national level has been asking many questions and saying, how should we handle this Joe Biden issue? We have seen how inflation, the rise prices of gas, the way the United States abruptly left Afghanistan, their current involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war, the lack of response on them handling immigration issues, and much, much more have been reasons for many individuals to say, you know what, something is wrong with the Democratic Party. And 88%, according to a CNN poll, did state that 88% of those individuals felt that the U.S. is going in the wrong direction. And many have started to ask, well, who should be the next in line? His President Biden's age, has come into question. Some have even questioned Kamala Harris's ability to lead. She's not a very great speaker. Does she have what it takes to revitalize the Democratic Party, to make sure that we're able to hold on to power for 4 more years? Peter Buttigieg, in my opinion, is the best candidate. He checks all the boxes. He's a veteran. He's LGBT. He served as the mayor. He currently is a cabinet member for President Biden. I believe he is the transportation. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But in my opinion, that should be the Democrats' next potential president. Why? Because he's young and you need somebody to revitalize, to captivate once again that Democratic Party. Why? Because we have seen throughout the United States has been this red wave that many people are talking about. Here we experienced it with Mayra Flores, who we thought there's no way in hell that this woman is going to change our little South Texas red. But do the Democrats have a daunting task coming in the midterm elections? It seems that way, and it's going to be even harder for the Democratic Party here in the state of Texas to change that. Democratic Chair Judge Gilberto Hinojosa did win another term to be at the helm of the Democratic Party. He did say that this will be his last. I believe he does have 10 years at the helm for the Democrats. Now, what will we have seen from the Democrats moving forward? Should we expect for Republicans to take over the House and the Senate after the midterm elections? But more importantly, what should we expect down here in South Texas? Because while we are all eyes and ears and always monitoring of what is happening at the national level, at the state level, for us, it is more important to know what is going on in our current area. Mayra Flores did the unthinkable. She did defeat, she did win this past election. She did gain the 50+1 vote for Judge Filemon Vela's previous seat. Now, the dynamics of this next race will be different. It will be a totally different district. And many insiders have told me, and I asked, what's the reason why did the Democratic Party leave Honorable Dan Sanchez out to dry? Why wasn't there no support from the national level? And many people said, you know what? They weren't really interested in that race. Why are they going to spend $1 million on that race when the race to really win is the one in November? And I asked myself, why didn't Vicente Gonzalez tap into this race? Well, he would have to resign his current spot right now to be able to run for this. And it just causes a lot more problems. It's best to wait in November. But Ms. Mayra Flores did the unthinkable. She was able to turn a predominantly blue part of Texas red. Now, should we expect this throughout the city and throughout the county? At the state level, we have a very interesting race. We have Governor Abbott against Beto O'Rourke, and we've seen Beto O'Rourke, who did try and unsuccessfully. He was very close when he challenged Ted Cruz. We also saw him be a Democratic nominee for president. We did see his campaign fluster towards the end, but many have been saying that this is Beto's last and best chance to obtain this type of position. Now, while we do expect that Governor Abbott will win in this upcoming November race, what we've been seeing is that Beto, as he always has, he's been campaigning very, very aggressively, and he's been throughout the state of Texas and making sure that he is visible out with his constituents. Now, we do expect that this race will turn red, and also the race that we've all been monitoring, Vicente Gonzalez against Mayra Flores. What we have seen from the Republican Party has been that they've thrown all their chips on the table behind Mayra Flores. And Vicente Gonzalez does have a war chest of over $2 to $3 million. How will that fare out in November? Will we be seeing a clash of giants? Will this be the unthinkable, where a woman once again wins an election and solidifies the Republican Party's stake in South Texas? Are the people of Texas, are the people of the United States tired of the Democrats and their promises, their broken promises? all what we have seen from, and I'll speak about locally because that's what's more important to us, but all what we have seen from our local Democrats have been that the city of Brownsville, that Cameron County has remained poor. But what has happened to them and their families and their friends? They've gotten bigger. Their pocketbooks have gotten a little bit fatter. They're driving Tahoes and Escalades and Denali's. Oh, I got a 2013, 2014 Porsche. You and I can agree that we have not seen our local elected officials accomplish much of anything. All they've done is make sure that they've aligned their pockets. What can we hang our hat on and say, oh, look at the great things that my city commission did for me. Look at the great things that my county commission did for me. Again, there is no opportunity here in South Texas, right? And we want to make sure that this is instilled in our community. Why do individuals run for public office? Is it because they want to provide a better quality of life for you and I? They want to provide jobs. They want to provide opportunity for your children. So they won't have to leave to San Antonio, to San Marcos, to Houston, because the opportunity is here. Have we seen that? Unfortunately, we haven't. All we've seen is these Democrats have just been helping themselves, helping their family, and making sure that they stay in power. The other race that we have been monitoring has been the county judge race. And many individuals have been very upset at Judge Trevino, how he not once but twice submitted the arena for voting. And again, did he go against the wishes of the voters not once but twice? How is he going to be able to spin this and say, hey, look, you all didn't have the proper information? Why was he so adamant on pushing this agenda of the arena? Did he have was this a benefit for him, or was this a benefit for his constituents? Now, and he has been very vocal and said, you know what, those individuals, they don't know the information, how this is in the 10, 20, 30 years down the road is going to benefit Cameron County. But ask yourselves, did these individuals also the pay raise that the commissioners gave themselves, all of them, were like, oh, we got a pay raise. Again, why do individuals run for public office? Is it to provide a better quality of life for you and I, or is it to make sure that they line up their pockets? In the Precinct 2 Cameron County Commissioners race, we have Erasmo Castro, who is challenging a career politician in Joey Lopez. What we have seen from Mr. Lopez has been that he has been at BISD, he has been at South Texas as board member, and he recently is seeking his second term for county commissioner. Again, what do we have seen from these career politicians? What difference have they made in each and every stop that they've had? We already know what we get from these elected officials, ladies and gentlemen. We know that their only purpose of serving on these boards is to serve themselves. They don't serve us common folks. They only come around to us whenever they ask our vote, whenever they need our vote. Again, should the Democrats be worried? Mayra Flores really solidified of this idea that individuals are sick and tired of Democrats and they're using their position to enrich themselves and their families. I ask once again, and I want this, and I repeat this because, como dice, vuelvo a recalcar, how Angel would say, vuelvo a recalcar. I repeat, why do individuals run for public office? Is it to provide a better quality of life for you and I? Or is it to make sure that their kids are straight, so their business partners are happy, to make sure that they have money in their pockets for future generations? Do the Democrats have a daunting task ahead of them? I say yes. We see it at the national level, we see it at the state level, and we see it here at the county. How will you decide this coming November? Will you make sure and let the Democrats know that, hey, we're sick and tired. We need new blood. We need new fresh ideas. Why? Because these individuals are career politicians, and all they worry about is for themselves and their pocketbooks. And that, my friends, is the rest of the story. El Narco Tráfico. We have seen how Rafael Caro Quintero's arrest was that trophy that the United States has been so desperately wanting after he was released from Mexican jail on a technicality during Enrique Peña Nieto's tenure as Mexican president back in 2013. Will this stop the flow of drugs? Will this help the war on this, and I will even say this farce war on drugs? No, fentanyl has been crossing in bulk here close. I haven't seen it in Harlingen, but I haven't seen it in Brownsville, but in Harlingen, they just recently made a big nab of, I don't know how many pills of fentanyl, which is very, very dangerous and powerful. Will this arrest stop? Will this arrest of Rafael Caro Quintero, who was at the helm of the Guadalajara cartel, will this stop the flow of drugs? Absolutely, absolutely not. Insider information. We saw Nancy Pelosi recently or her husband made a $5 million purchase of chips. Is this illegal? Is this immoral? You best believe. Do we see this in the city of Brownsville, where certain individuals who sit on certain committees of planning and zoning, on BCIC, on Gmbtx, on these grants? It's insider information. I challenge you. Google Planning and Zoning Committee, City of Brownsville, and look at the sharks. Go to Gmbtx. Go to all these different committees. It's not a coincidence why those individuals are there. They're sharks. They're wheelers and dealers. They're supposed to be there so they can make sure that they have all the information for their compadres. Also, the Uvalde report released. It was unfortunate to note how over 400 law enforcement officials did not respond. 400 heavily armed officials going up against one gunman, and they let him shoot and shoot and shoot. And it's sad to see how the video that was released, you can see how they say screams of children redacted. These individuals, they heard the suffering, the killing of kids, of teachers, and they did nothing about it. There is now talks that there will be having, they will be looking into this as a criminal matter, that those individuals that took an oath to protect and serve did the opposite. And do the Democrats have a daunting task ahead of them for the midterm elections? You best believe it. We have seen throughout the country that there has been a red wave, so to speak, how individuals have been sick and tired of Democrats and how they have been using their position to enrich themselves. We see that with Nancy Pelosi, a career politician, and others. Should we focus on candidates and not parties? And that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about later on. Many individuals we say, "Oh, I'm Democrat. Oh, I'm Republican. Oh, and that's it." No, we should make sure that we study our candidates, ask them about their platform. What will they bring? What have they done in office? What great things have they done? And I bet you they won't be able to say a damn thing. All they're going to be able to say is, "Well, I got to pay a raise at the county commissioner. Oh, I got all these perks and all these benefits, but what have they done for me and my family, for our family?" And again, and I want you to stick this in your head, why do individuals run for public office? Is it so they can provide a better quality of life for you and I? Or maybe, just maybe, it's so they can line their pockets and make sure that their compadres and their future generations are well off, while you and I will have to figure it out on our own. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. It's Monday, July 18th, 7:41 a.m. Spazzed out a bit. I got the network in my ear. I went 11 minutes after my allocated time. Thank you so much for your time and your patience. Hope to see you here on Wednesday. Have a great, great Monday. Let's kick butt today. God bless.